Look at this abundance of algae that is just caked onto the side of this tank. That is thick. And it's not just one type of algae. Actually, we've got several types of algae in this tank, including red bush algae. Now, some of this algae is not easy to get rid of, especially blackbeard or redbeard, bush algae, etc. You know, there's not a lot of things that eat that particular type of algae. Now, I could totally do something about this algae. I could scrape it. You know, that's a common method of doing it. I could add some sort of chemicals of sorts and it'll kill the algae. Or I could use my UV filter, which I have turned off, to help prevent the growth of future algae. But I'm not going to do that, because I actually have a plan for this. There's a reason why I'm not getting rid of it. See, this tank has just basically been holding over for a while because I have an idea. Hi, Fafa. Fafa right here has been a good little goldfish eating up the algae, and yeah, goldfish are kind of messy because they just non-stop poop, and Fafa is no exception. That being said, I used to have fish that were specifically for eating the algae off of the sides of the walls, but I got to thinking, what if I started breeding them? So, here's my idea. I can do maybe one of two things, and I'm honestly leaning towards one more than the other. I love bushy-nosed plecos. They are some of the most, I think, adorable fish. Remember my little buddies? I've had bushy-nosed plecos for years, and my last bushy-nosed pleco died from old age last year, or either that or early this year, I forget. He was a good fish. Peaches the pleco was a good boy. He definitely did his job nom-nomming on everything that was plant-based, but I have other fish that do something similar. I have my autosynclus. Now, my autos are in another tank, or one auto, as I should say. I only have one. And although there's not a widespread knowledge about exactly how they do breed in people's tanks from time to time. And they are a small sucker fish, which means I could have a bunch of them in one tank, and it wouldn't be a huge bio load. So, what I'm thinking is maybe I'll get like 10 to 20 autosynclus. You know, I don't think the people at the pet store are going to be able to sex them, and I don't entirely know how to do that myself with that particular species of fish. So I figure if I get 10 to 20 of them, that's a pretty good spread. There's a very high likelihood I'll have males and females. Since they are sucker fish and they are known for cleaning up the algae on the sides of your fish tank anyway, I might as well produce as much of this algae as I can to give them a sustainable food source. Now, obviously, I will supplement their food source with more nutritious food because a single dietary source of food is not the best situation for any particular fish. But there's plenty of whatever this algae is to go around. So maybe I can breed some autosynclus catfish, which I think would be perfect for many different situations, including my shrimp tanks, because one of the few fish that people say is compatible with small, tiny, little shrimps like Neocaridina davidi are autosynclus catfish, because they're so tiny and they have really no interest in eating flesh from another creature. They're very, very much herbivores. So, because of their size and their dietary needs, they're usually put together without any problems, which is great because I would like to keep the sides of my tank algae-free without having to use snails. Now, don't get me wrong, snails are cool. They do a good job. Especially my nearite snails. You know, nearite snails definitely clean up algae very well as they rasp away at it with their teeth. Now, they're not technically called teeth on a snail. Let's just keep it simple. That being said, when a snail does eventually die, they release a ton of ammonia, And that creates a major spike in nitrates ultimately in the tank. Now, I've got some plants, and these plants are mainly for functional purposes. It's not aesthetic, but it does suck up nitrate, which helps keep the tank at a nice level for all the things. Nitrite, ammonia, everything is done very well in these tanks because of the setup. It's functional, but I want to move away from snails in favor of little fishy buddies. And, yeah, I mean, people just like autosynclus. Autosynclus are fun. They're wiggly, they're quick, they're goofy. And although they're not as adorable, in my opinion, as bushy-nosed plecos, they serve a very good purpose while taking up a very small footprint. So I believe that is the next venture that I'm going to get into with these fish tanks, because why not? It's a functional fish that, you know, would be fun to raise. I've never bred them before, and I'm up for the challenge. So, maybe that's what I'll be doing later today, is getting some autosynclus kitty fish.